On this episode, where to allocate attention. Hey everybody, this is The Quarter Show, and we're going to be talking about where to allocate attention. And, by that, I mean to your sales team. So now when you're training or you're coaching or you're managing a sales team, you're going to have, all-stars, you have A players, triple A players, and so forth. And then you have the stragglers, or you have the people who are maybe new, maybe not doing so well. Maybe not great, maybe some you need to cut. But you have to look at time management. And if you're coaching or managing a team, you're a VP sales or whatever, you got to really look at this. And you got to think about, here's what I'm willing to bet. The ones who are going to take up the majority of your time are the ones that are not doing so well, are the ones that they're asking all sorts of questions. They're either new or they're not great. They're new or they're not great, right? And so they're going to take up a lot of your time because they're asking questions and they're doing this and that, and you're trying to help them because their numbers are down. And that's where you start spending your time. As a manager, you're spending your time, you're trying to help them and bring them up, but it's actually a wrong move. What you want to do is you want to allocate your attention to the top players. You have to focus on the top players and give your time to them. Support them and help them drive bigger numbers, better numbers, bend over backwards, support them and help drive their numbers. And I know it's a little counterintuitive because the native feeling or urge is to go and help the ones that are not doing very well, is to go to work the bottom. But it's actually the wrong play. And what you need to do is you need to write up the training material, write up any drilling, write up any training material. We have something called a Richterpedia here. We created, which is like a knowledge base of all the questions and answers they could possibly run into. We built a training manual for how to sell. And what we do is we take those people that are not doing so well and we send them over to training. We send them over to qualifications, we call it. We send them over to training and qualifications. And they work with one of our people and they go train, drill, study, until they're up to a certain point. And they kind of keep going. And as they do better and better, they sort of gain more attention when you're managing them and things like that. And maybe it sounds a little harsh, but it's that's the way it's got to be, because otherwise they're going to suck up all your attention and suck up all your time, and then your numbers go down. And if you support the top people, the top players, whoever that is, spend time with them. What do they need? How can you help? How can you drive bigger deals? How can you support them? How can you train them? What else do they need? Anything that you can support them to drive the big numbers, that's what you need to do, and that's where you're going to get the big payoff. And the other one's just make sure you have the training material, make sure you have some training manual for how you do what you do. Everything's written up. You have videos, you have material that they can study. For us, we have videos. We have something called Richter University that we built. They can do it over and over again. We have somebody who trains people. We have the Richterpedia knowledge base, like I said. We have a ton of assets and different training material and things like that they can just be on. We can just sort of route them in that direction and say, look, train, drill, practice, get up to a viable range, get up to a certain range, and then you start granting them more attention and giving them more attention. The other thing that we do is we actually sort of apprentice them. And instead of tying up your VP sales or your coach or manager or whoever it is for you, instead of tying up their time and attention, assign them a senior, assign them an apprentice. Or have them apprentice under a more senior player. So for us, for example, our two key players have a team of 2 or 3 people that are underneath them, working on, working with them on stuff that they need on the ground, tactical things like, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? And that way you have sort of this coach system where you have the senior head coach and then you have sort of the assistant coaches, and they're helping apprentice the junior players while the junior players are training and getting better. But I think that a lot of people, they have the urge to sort of go and spend their time on the players that are weaker, and then they neglect the players that are very strong, and then everything suffers. Your overall membership.
And the thing is, it's not that you don't want to help people who are trying to make it and maybe go through struggling times or different stuff like that. That's not the point, but because, like Rob says, you do have to give a person the materials and resources necessary to succeed.
Yeah.
Unless you're into some weird situation where it's like sink or swim, anyone sink or swim, which is like just a weird situation. So it's like give any single person a really good shot of succeeding.
Oh yeah.
But this is business, and it's a cold-blooded look. And you really have to have to a degree, you have to have that viewpoint, because it's not like we have a very nice office building, and these are very expensive shirts, and it's all very glitzy and all this very comfortable look to it. But this is, and not to dramatize or go extreme, but it's a jungle. It really is. It's hard work, and it's it's grow or shrink at all times, no matter your size. And you look at larger companies and things like that, and the different trends that they go through. And everything is statistics, man. Everything is measuring by statistics. And if statistics are down, there's a problem, and it has to do with people. It doesn't have to do with anything else. People and their development of product, people and their ability to sell, people and their ability to manage. So it's really a cold-blooded look, and it has to be done because, there are a couple people who aren't with Richter anymore who are doing great. I just ran into another one down in LA, doing great in a new line of work. And love that they were with Richter, but there are certain companies in certain situations where the gradient, like the challenge in entering, is a little extreme, and Richter's a little bit like that. Not every company is like that.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is,
you have to you have to be willing to look at who is actually on your team and what's actually happening.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the bottom line is that some of the bottom players they work their way up, and it's.
Yeah,
I mean, sales is tough in any sales is tough in any business, right? And you can. I'm not saying don't take them under your wing or whatever. Right. I just don't let it consume all of your attention and then risk the whole thing, right? Risk everything, and then all the numbers go down. You want to support the top. You want to support what's working, right? You want to support what's working. You want to push power and push affluence to the right people, right? Like support them in any way you can. Get them what they need.
Yeah. When Robert gets a great prospect on his lines, he doesn't go to the struggling bottom of the group and give them a great prospect who he hopes they might close.
No.
He comes to a couple folks at the top and says, "Hey, get this done."
Yeah,
because he knows it'll get done. Because it's for everyone.
Yeah, it's the smarter play from a management perspective. It's a smarter play. It's a sure shot, and you want the sure shot. And
is that a Beastie Boys reference?
Yeah, I think that is a Beastie Boy reference. And then from there, you want to take the ones that are not quite there yet and let them hustle, let them work their way up, let them prove themselves, get them in training, let them prove that they get through the training, that they're scrappy enough to read the books, do the work, dig in, right? And then it validates the attention. Then you really start saying, hey, you know what? Here's a star. Here's somebody who's becoming a star. Not quite there, becoming a star, and you can start allocating some attention there. But I think a lot of management, they'll make the wrong move and start like babying or coddling or taking them on their wing, the ones that are really struggling, like, oh, they're really struggling, and then neglect what's really working. And that's to me the opposite of what you should be doing. And maybe you're doing it right. But
focus on your power.
Yeah, focus on the power and support your power base. And that's where you're going to get good wins. And meanwhile, put these ones over here. They're scrappy, they're training, they're struggling, they're working their way up, they're apprenticing with some of the big players. And from there, you start to see the stars rise up, and you start to see, and you say, you know what, this person right here is getting some attention. We need to allocate some attention to this person because they're like starting to make a difference and come out. And then you start supporting them, and then they turn into a complete all-star. So. I think you can call it.
Took me like 2 years to get 5 minutes of Robert's time.
Yeah. But it's true. I would expect the same of myself. It's like I want to prove myself. I want to prove myself to the point where I've validated, where I've earned that attention. And you sort of have somebody say, you know what, hey, I'm watching you. Hey, what else do you need? When somebody starts coming to the table, say, what can I do? How can I help you? How can I help you grow? And I think, maybe it is a tough viewpoint for the ones that are at the bottom. It's kind of rough, but that means they got to work all the more. They got to put in the work. They got to build that work ethic. And I quite frankly think that work ethic is very, very good. Does it mean it's 3 or 4 times harder down here than it is up here? Yeah, sure, of course it is. But that's what it takes to get up here. So you develop this sort of scrappy work ethic down here, rather than sort of coddling them and supporting them and helping them. They earn it. They get used to that work ethic, and by the time they get up here and you start supporting them, they just blast through the ceiling.
Yeah, and this is not that's the way it should be. It's not that it should be hard at the bottom, it's that it is.
It's that it is.
It's that it is. So it's not like you're trying to create an environment where it's hard for people who are starting out or struggling. It's that it is that way.
It just is hard.
And so you put your positive attention here, and you put positive attention here, but it just is that way. It's not like let's make it tough.
No.
Let's haze the new. There's nothing. It's not like that. That's not. Yeah. The point is, it just is that way.
It just is that way, and they have to just dig their way up. But just don't let it consume all your attention. Is all I'm saying. Don't let it consume all your time and attention, because they're not quite proven. They're not quite there. Give them training. Give them support in that regard. Sort of let them go off with training and working and digging and all that kind of stuff. Assign some team captains, whatever you want to call it, to sort of answer the questions that like have come up a zillion times and everybody knows cold. Let them handle those while you support and give the attention to the bigger players. And from there, let the stars sort of rise up, and then from there you can support them like crazy. I think everybody's different in terms of management. That's what I've experienced over the years. That's what I think is very workable. I've also fallen into the trap where it's like you're coddling the player who's struggling, who's really hurting, and it can consume a huge amount of your time, and it doesn't lead to wins. It doesn't. It hurts your top, and the bottom doesn't really get better. Mm-hmm. They don't ever really learn the hard way, and you find yourself doing a lot of the work for them and all that kind of stuff, and next thing you know, you get sucked into it, just problem after problem after problem, and it doesn't get better, and next thing you know, it's like your overall number gets affected. So think with that, support the top players, make sure you're supporting your top players heavily, and they've earned it, they've earned that support, so dig in hard there. Make sure you've done the training, make sure you've written up the training material, you have the support for the bottom players, you've given them what they need. If you don't, then that's also on you. You got to make sure that you've written up all the information that they could possibly need, so they have a training pack, they have drilling, they have an apprentice, they have that kind of stuff that's going to help sort of groom them and make them better players. So you got to make sure you do that, and it's just going to make a better sales organization overall. Okay? More coming at you soon. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter @thequarter show, and hit like if you like the video as well.